And happy Sunday evening. Welcome to Favored Allies. Excited to jump back into this with everybody. Recently, our party, Embers Only, has cleared out the blighted land that is near the Temple of Saloon, where Mama hopes to plant her husband, driven to illness by what they know as the Fade. Um, as these wood elves are tend to do. Um, Having cleared out the blight and the memory of Swift Arbor Regalion, appeasing the daughter of the king, Talia Regalion, and sending her to a restful afterlife. The party has returned to the Temple of the Moon, and is gathering their things, most of them, to head down to Mama's homestead, about a half day's travel from the temple. Um, Picking up where we left off, I believe Tosha is staying behind to do a little study and pick up some spells from one of the keepers of the temple here, Glory. Um, the rest of the party getting ready. I imagine it's first thing in the morning after the previous evening where you returned to the temple, gave everybody the news. Um, you have about 5 weeks until the Ascension ceremony, important to Tosha and the rest of the party for various reasons. You know that it'll take you about half a day to get down to Mama's homestead. Um, you have a few days of leeway, and you can either spend extra time here at the temple doing research, getting other things done, or take the long, slow, safe way back, and we can figure out what you all want to do about that as we go along. But just giving you a reminder is that that is still a decision to be made. But yeah, Embers Only, picking up first thing in the morning before you are heading down to Mama's. What are you all up to?
Even though this is a peaceful trip, I think Callie is like restocking all her inventory, like going through, checking her gear, reassembling it, polishing the sword, and just like, but also worrying how to be like presentable for like meeting a family. And she's like from the swamp, she's like got her big tall wading boots on. Like, I don't know that this is appropriate. Maybe I could get like a cloak, something just a little nicer. And then, but I have to have the sword. Like, I just don't. Woo! And so just like pacing back and forth, trying to figure out how to be appropriate.
Just like, does somebody in the temple have a kitten heel that I can bring just in case?
Yeah.
It's a kitten heel.
Tiny heel
Tiny heel.
on a shoe.
It's a kitten that started as a good guy and now is
No.
a bad guy. And
Wow.
No.
See, that's where I was. I was like, so like fiddlesticks?
no,
I'm
it's
so
like
cute. Pet my tummy. Murder.
I think they
Like-
have like a little bit of a curve, right? And it doesn't matter. Yeah.
They're just short,
Yeah.
a short type of heel. You can actually do like a little spin on them. It's a kitten heel turn.
Oh,
Much like Fiddlesticks.
my god.
Boo. I am going to be looking through my little book that I've been working on with Glory, and I would like to cast Find Familiar for the first time as a ritual this morning. So I take out the book, drawing the runes, kind of like moving pretty slowly since I have to like focus to look. So I think everyone would just see me kind of laboriously going through this process of casting a ritual.
And as you're writing, you actually you've been trained somewhat with Glory on how to do some of these things. So you have a special quill and thick parchment that you can actually pull and draw up as you are pushing into the parchment. It actually creates little cuts and dots that you can kind of better read more quickly as you're getting used to it.
Awesome.
But yeah, you spend an hour and 10 minutes, I think, running this ritual first thing in the morning, calling out to the Asher to send you a guide. And as you do this, you can see kind of in the distance, I imagine relevant to your religion, the times at dusk and dawn are particularly relevant as this is the cusp, the gateway between. And so at dawn, you kind of look out to where the rising sun is, and you can just see a little green flash, almost like you would see if you were looking out over a clear ocean just as the sun were going down. Um, and coming towards you from that flash, you see a speck at first flying in. Um, and as you kind of watch it, you see a large wingspan, maybe 4 foot across. This large gray, black, and white um, bird of some sort comes and lands, swoops around you, and then lands before you, standing a little over 2 foot tall, probably close to Derek's height, is an owl, a great gray owl. So you can see that around the eyes are these concentric circles that almost look as though, as you stare into them, you're looking into a portal. But towards the center, it gets very dark with then white features that give the center a skull-like sort of look to it.
Hello, friend. I will call you Morana, after my mentor, the former high priest. She guided me for some time, and I hope you can guide me now.
And it just sort of ruffles and stands up almost imperiously, and then flies up to your shoulder. This is a large bird, but as it lands on you, you realize it's an owl and most of its feathers. So it lands on you, and it's about 3 pounds. And just you have about a 2 foot 4 inch like bird just chilling out on your shoulder.
Excellent.
What are you up to, Alar?
Not much. I think as Callie is in the middle of like trying to decide on the third outfit change, there's a knock at the door, and in short, Alar is just there to ask if he could get the family letters back.
Oh yeah, no, of course. And I'll go back to like the battle gear where it was carefully tucked away, and like retrieve all the letters that he
He isn't like asking for the backup report, because just in case something happens, it's probably not a bad idea for Callie to have it, and it is like heavily coded and pretty innocuous, and just has the thing of like, hey, if Callie comes back without me, please pay her. So I don't have any issue with that. But yeah, he'll take the family letters, and he straight up just like burns them completely. He wants them gone.
couldn't be happier to return this mail.
Yeah, he can always just rewrite them later if it comes down to it, but he doesn't want things lying around. So, yeah. That's basically all I have to prep, Mama. This is probably when I have my conversation with Name I've Forgotten and get the sending stone that handed off to Mama. So,
yes. You actually received that from Mother Corin specifically.
Gotcha.
That wasn't who you asked, but that's who presents it to you.
Awesome.
Mama, what are you doing this morning?
Well, I had tea and prayed for a while. And worried. And took a walk and rehearsed what I'm hoping to say inside my head. I do stop by to chat with Mother Corin just briefly, just to ask what I should say. And it almost wouldn't matter what she said as an answer, because probably wouldn't listen. I mean, well enough, but...
Oh, Mama. I know what I think I would say, I don't think it has anything to do with what you would say. A lot of things about the moon and sometimes the moon goes down. And it's not the end of things. In fact, it's the start of something new, you know? And Mama, this is a lot of folks never expected to see you again. So some folks might have feelings. Willow's gonna be Willow. Fern's gonna be Fern, though I can't say I've heard from her in some time now. But I mean, your kids are all gone, so it's I think the only thing that's important is what's between you and Thorn. I can't tell you what need to be said there.
It's a strange life to ask your husband to turn himself into a tree.
Do you think it was any stranger for him to sit by while you walked off, presumably to your end?
No, I'm sure he's mad as hell if he remembers. I know he'll remember me because I'm his long past as well. I don't know what he'll know.
I think there's some solace in knowing, even if you don't get everything that you'd like to hear out of him, or that you need to, there's still a lot locked away in there. Maybe he can't understand it now and he can't think on it, but things that are gone, they ain't all gone. Some of them are there. Some of them might pop up sometimes, and well, I think from my understanding of it, if he becomes a memory tree, it sort of locks all that in. He stops losing it. And if you got means to work with him, to talk to him like the tea, it's gonna be Thorn. This isn't a tree planted in his memory. This is Thorn. This ain't a funeral, Mama. This is a celebration.
We just haven't had any in my generation.
I know.
It's
We
like
haven't
living a
had any in a
myth.
long time.
Thank you.
Mama, I need you to know something before you go. And I hate to burden you with anything else. I made a vow a very long time ago that, and you can see she has this crescent moon ring that she wears as like the symbol of her station, and she's kind of spinning it on her finger as she's talking. I made a vow a very long time ago that when we had a new grove, and particularly when we ended the Blighted Lands, well, that was going to be the end of my time here at the temple. Mama, I've been here since before you were a child. And you know that. And it's the moon's blessing, and she kind of like looks down at the ring. That keeps me healthy and safe. But I do need to pass that on. I can't keep carrying this torch. I can feel the weight of time behind the dam that this ring puts up every day. And I need you to know, this isn't anything about you or anything about Thorn. And gods, I wish you were younger and I could pass this on to you.
You, well,
Sorry.
But that would have been, there's a time that would have been what would have happened. You know? But I think Glory is ready. But when I pass this on, and I pass on this ring, that dam's gonna burst, Mama.
I know it will.
So, still got a little time.
You
But I
will
just want to
stay
thank you for everything.
for his ceremony.
As much of it as I can. Glory will run the ceremony, but I will finish the consecration of the land before the ceremony starts. I'll wait for you. All right?
I gotta thank you. We hadn't had such ridiculous trips for me, and I'd forgotten to die. I wouldn't be saving Thorn right now. Who would have thought?
I think it just goes to show some things are worth forgetting. And it ain't always a shame.
True. I'll never forget you.
I believe that, Mama. I believe that. But I gotta go see to these daughters and the anchor stone and all of that, so we got our own work cut out for us.
Yeah, we do.
And I don't envy you yours.
No, nor do I.
Have a good trip, Mama.
Be safe.
Derek, what are you up to this morning?
So Derek has found that he has a new resistance to fire as his craft has... what's the word I'm looking for? He's become more experienced in his craft. So probably for the hour or so that people are meeting with members of, the local establishment, are finding haunted owls and preparing weaponry and whatnot, he's more than likely at the forge, kind of like slowly burning himself in like slightly larger and larger increments, like starting with the lighter, but by the hour marks, he's got like a red poker and he's just kind of contemplating it. Probably shouldn't.
You just hear from the rocking chair in the corner. You won't.
The fuck I want, and just me sees it right in there. So I've got like a brand new brand tattoo. Looks like a hook shape with like a line going through it as well.
You just hear an old man cackle in the back as you like put it on there, and you are resistant, but it still fucking hurts. So you like let out a little scream, and you just hear just this cackle in the background.
Yeah, keep pissing in your relics, old man. And then he goes, anyway, need good data. So second try, and now he's got like a V tattoo with like little hooks on either side. Same scream.
You know, not many go back to that pond twice. I gotta give that to you.
More data points you have, the more sure you can be about your reasonings.
You're a different little one. You know that?
Because I pee standing up?
For a number of reasons.
Gotcha.
You work the works of God, yes?
Absolutely. And fate, technically.
I know that your
It's like my son.
patron allows you to craft things rapidly, yes?
Yeah, in a shorter time frame, sure. Not instantaneous, but yeah.
Could you, for this old man, create a walking
Robot
stick?
penis. Oh.
Something fairly simple that I might use to walk. Perhaps a simple cane or a staff or whatever you think will aid me. Please, no wheels. And as few junctions of the steel as possible.
Mm-hmm. Derek looks down at the poker in his hand. Here you go. Oh, I guess it's made for a small creature, isn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna say he's like a 6 foot elf. He's like, I think you might need to make something.
Sure can. Crick, crack. Give me an hour. Also, apparently we're gonna be late. Everybody
I'll
else in the
be
party.
pleased to watch you work.
Oh, I don't have a piece of paper. You got a piece of paper, do you, darling? Alright. Well, I'll work on that.
All right. That's fine. You work on that now. We'll reveal it later.
Hell yeah.
Um,
You got ideas for this elf?
all right. Mama and party that is heading down. Derek asks you all to hold up just a little bit longer as you're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm not ready yet.
But after a short time,
Don't come in.
still in the morning, you all head out down to the eastern side of the mountain. Mama, you know that your homestead is strictly technically on the mountain, even though you're not supposed to do that because of sacred land. But you're a few hours travel from Swamp Shadow Manor, which is a small village that is built up around the manor that controls the pass that most of trade uses to go into and out of this valley. But your small homestead, you're more like a farm on the outskirts rather than in the village. That's where you like to be, and frankly, that's where the village elders like you to be. And you know, as you make your way, this side of the mountain, pretty safe. There's a lot of small game out here, small animals, but the larger predators don't really trek this close to the village, and particularly not between the village and the temple. Just too much traffic and too many hunters. Making your way down, you can find the trees start to grow thicker as you start going down the mountain, and you see trees that you recognize. Some trees that you planted well over 100 years ago that have grown to be great towering trees of this forest, and others older yet that you've known since your childhood. But you know them almost as family. Some of them you have names for, some of them you have memories tied to, but you are feeling more and more that you are returning home to somewhere that you missed, and in some ways has been lost. You approach, most of you see, as you're going through this forest, Mama quite sure in the direction she's going, although parts of this are quite thick, and it makes you wonder if maybe, did we just turned? Why are we turning? I thought we were going in that direction. Mama's got it covered, hopefully. And as you approach, you start to see a little bit of smoke, just a tiny little swizzle of smoke, probably coming out a chimney stack, a little ways ahead of you. And you can see here and there remnants of what were presumably traps. You see small stakes and trees cut in certain ways, boxes left around, non-killing traps. It looks like there's been a lot of trapping done around here, but Callie, you in particular recognize these are all non-lethal traps. There's not a spike in sight. There's not a bear trap style trap in sight. These are all either contrapt. Even Derek might recognize some of these are contraptions. There's a little pressure plate where an animal would walk in the box and it causes a door to close using some rudimentary springs. Most of it rusted. These don't look like they've been used in some time. Left to the overtaking of the forest. And as you get closer, you can see there's actually what looks like a stable, which is odd for a small homestead in the forest. This isn't a farm like that where you might have stables. Certainly, livery wouldn't be coming out here. But as you approach, you realize it was built similar to a stable, and there's a great many small crates, cages, and even a couple larger ones that might hold something the size of a horse. Again, fallen a bit into disrepair. Doesn't seem like it's been used in a while. And it doesn't look like it's been upkept. You can see moss has kind of grown over. Some of the wood seems to be rotting. And as you look further, there's a house. The house seems to be pretty well kept. There's a small garden near the house where there's some intentional plants grown, but also you see there's a great bounty in this forest. It seems like it wouldn't be so terrible to simply go around foraging as needed. And Mama, you absolutely know that's most often the case, but there are certain teas and certain fruits and veggies that it's just easier if you control them yourself. And behind the main house, a small, simple house of the forest, you can see another structure, a little more like a shed. You just see like a large, almost barn door on the front, and you can kind of hear the door is closed, but you can hear movement inside the shed. You see fires clearly going inside the house, so it seems like there's somebody in both buildings at least.
Well, the house seems well kept. They're not keeping Thorn's animal do very well, seems like. I would imagine that Thorn's in the shed, bumbling about. Now, folks, I don't know if you've seen folks with Fade, and I've never seen Thorn in this shape, so just, buckle up. No more, at least he's not a giant spider, I don't think. So, although he'd love that.
Would you want us to hang back a bit while you go talk to him?
No.
Okay.
No, maybe later, but not right now.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go up to the shed and knock on the door.
Again, you hear somebody fumbling around. Shed's not very big. It's maybe, it's pretty big for the kind of setup you have here, but it's 10 by 20, decent sized. But sounds like somebody's working not too far from the door. And you knock, and there's kind of a pause in the movement. What do you want, Willow?
It's not Willow, Thorn.
You hear something like fall over and drop to the ground.
Oh, Lord.
Like a small, like a cup or a dish or something. My wildcat?
Yeah.
Sorry, you know how the shed gets. It's a bit messy in here.
Well, then
Let me come out to you.
Thank you.
Oh, he's got a mistress.
And you hear movement, and those of you who are not super familiar with the Fade,
Hey, that's me.
You're probably expecting someone who's frail and sickly, but you hear movement of a healthy elf. He stands up, moves the chair back, walks over easily to the door, and pulls it open. And Mama, you can see he's got just the biggest smile on his face as this wood elf, ruddy brown skin, long silvered hair. Long time ago it wasn't silver, but gods know if anybody remembers that. And stands up in kind of a simple tunic and pant. Um, he's just folk of the forest, just like you, Mama, so simple folk. But he comes out and he's got this big smile on his face. Um, and he holds out his hand to you, Mama, and he's got a small string of shells and beads. I, I made something for you. And Mama, you are in this moment just lost, but Callie, with your passive perception, you can kind of see a little bit into the shed. And what you can see is it's dark in there. There's obviously some light. But this little string of beads that he's got, you can see there's a work table that it looks like maybe he was sitting at. And there's a handful of shells and a couple of strings that he's got there. Like maybe he was making a couple. But as you look past it, you can see further down the table, there's a pile of them. There's maybe 20 or 30 of them. And as you look further, it looks like they're strewn across the floor and kind of piled on every ledge that you can see. There are shelves, there are boxes. There's what looks to be maybe in the past like a table for doing medical work on animals. But every surface is just covered with these little strands of beads.
I'm not pointing it out to anybody else. I'm just sort of like noting it. And I think Callie's seen variations of the fade before and knows that like everybody's a little different. It's not like shocking, but it is. Remember how to make them.
Hazel, where have you been? Willow said you went on a trip.
I did.
She said you weren't mad at me, but she said you might not come back.
Yeah, it was a trip I wasn't supposed to come back from, Thorn, because I had the fade.
And you can see his face. He looks confused for a moment, and then he kind of looks a little mad, and then he's, oh yeah, that's right.
But I couldn't stop till I came back to you. All of the going out and goings on, all of that has been so I could come back and see this lovely little string with these beautiful seashells on it, and I just throw myself at him, just big bear hug, like arms around the middle. Just
he gives you a squeeze, but he doesn't he gives you a hug, right? Like a normal hug, like you've seen each other today kind of hug. And he almost seems a little confused or put off by how much you just throw yourself into him. But he doesn't say anything, and he just gives you a hug back. Well, you were the just wildest and most dangerous wildcat that I could never tame. And you seem so upset, Mom.
oh yeah, it's just been a long day, Thorn, and it's just so good to see you after a long day. I have some friends for you to meet.
Oh, yeah, see. Oh, Derek, I just want to check in with you real quick. Is Arnie with you?
I thought I had to keep him in the shed. Because they didn't like him.
That was the thing up at the temple. I wasn't sure if you took him with you down to the...
I guess I'm kind of confused. I thought this was kind of like a commune kind of thing.
It's quite spread out. So you were at the temple, which is kind of separated from where there's a nearby town, and even the Mama's homestead is kind of on the outskirts of that town. Mama's got to travel another hour or two to get to the village.
Oh, if it's an hour or two, then yeah, Arnie's with me.
Yeah, yeah. So he like takes a look around and just, well, hello, little friend. And he just nods to you, Derek. And he looks up at Arnie and he's like, uh, hello, big friend.
Arnie waves and goes to like, and his jaw falls off. He's falling apart. He just fought a tree recently. It's just wrenches it back on with a bolt. There you go. And I'm Derek.
He looks like he's about to say something, and then he sees um, Callie as like even as you're introducing yourself, Derek. He just turns to Callie, and like whatever confusion or concern he had about Arnie, it's just gone. He just looks at Callie. Why, hello, ma'am. You would be a a traveling type, right?
By profession and necessity, yes, I am. Thorn, it is a pleasure to meet.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet your like as well. The mud people, yeah.
The mud skipper, yeah.
Yes.
That's close.
I'm sorry. I don't. It's been a long time since I've done travel like that.
That's understandable. We don't always see eye to eye.
And turns to Colin as you're finishing your sentence. And you are.
Uh, Elias. I'm a friend of Hazel's.
Well, you. I'm begging your pardon, but you look like some of them folk in chip scale, so I had to eye you up just briefly there. But I
You
promise.
look like an Alar.
I promise you're safe. These fists have not been thrown in quite some time, so I think you'll be okay. And if you're a friend of Hazel's, you're a friend of mine. Welcome
Fortunately,
home, or excuse me, welcome home, Elias.
fortunately, I've never been to chip scale, I think, but also I'm pretty familiar with how Mama tends to throw hands, and that hasn't come up yet.
Oh, you got no idea.
Maybe a little. Maybe a skosh. Is Willa in the house?
She went up to the temple. Last I knew, she went up there with Fern. Yeah, just before I went out to the shed.
Fern.
Oh yeah.
Fern's back.
And he looks a little confused. Yeah, I think she left on a for a couple. Yeah, yeah, she's back.
Okay then. Well, I am in for an adventure today.
Now you behave yourself, Hazel.
When have I ever done that?
It's worth trying.
Fair enough. Will you walk with me? Or are you going to go back in the shed and do some work?
I should probably clean up. I think I'll clean up out here and that owl bear that I've got out in the animal keep. She gonna need to be fed. Yeah, and probably have to take her out for a run. I might be a little bit.
Okay. I'll see you in a minute then.
All right. I'll get back to working.
Okay.
It was nice to meet you folks. Good that you're here taking care of Mama.
They
Hi, I'm
definitely
Derek.
do that.
Oh, hello, Derek. I haven't talked with a goblin in such a long time. We should have a sit down chat later.
Absolutely. And, like, you see Derek just kind of scribbling little notes. And this is Arnie.
He looks at Arnie and he looks at Arnie like it's the first time he's looked at Arnie. He's just like freaked out for just a brief second and starts trying to figure out how to greet this thing.
And I'm Derek, the guy you owe 5 copper to.
Derek, don't you dare!
Damn it. It's for research.
No.
Is not.
I love how
Thorn,
the first
honey.
red line on the audio was Mama saying, Derek, don't you dare.
Don't worry, it'll be the second and third too.
Thorn, honey, we're gonna go chat with folks in the house. Oh, we'll catch up with you in a bit. I love you.
Love you too, Hazel. Looking forward to dinner. I saw that you had brought in some chickens this morning, so looking forward to it.
Yeah.
He turns around and makes his way back into his shop.
Well, y'all are in for a ride with this. I don't know how I'm gonna talk to him. Let me
Well, don't worry.
face.
If you fuck it up, you get 2 or 3 more tries at least.
Wow, correct. That is not kind, Derek.
Just try to
Technically
be supportive.
correct. I appreciate it. Let's save some of that razor wit for my sister. If
There's
she
more
is
of you?
in fact here, oh, you don't even get to meet all my kids. They're adults now. Let's go. So we walk up to the house, and I don't knock. I just open the door because fuck it.
Exactly. You open the door. Mama, describe your house.
Well, it's kind of sunny for not having many windows. For a while, Thorn was putting up the little strings of beads and shells up along the windows, but when he found little shiny ones, he would put them up so they would reflect light. So there's little beads of light coming in, like shining off of them. A bunch of just like carved and wooden furniture with some really comfy mats, like cushions that have like reeds and straw in them. He would never use feathers of any kind unless he could find them on the ground. Cozy, lots of like natural tones, a little sitting area, little kitchen area. There's this, there are rooms further back, which would be more like sleeping quarters and whatnot, but just in the front, it's just kind of warm feeling.
And as you come in, you can see the shelves that are along the windows have been kind of piled up. There's more of them than there used to be, and even the kitchen table, the dining table has just a pile of them, and it looks like there have been spots that have been pushed and cleared out so that people can sit and eat. 2 spots. And as you throw the door open, you see kind of bent over a stew pot at the far end of the room is Willow. Kind of stands up straight. Thorn, as she turns around.
Not
Hazel,
quite. Yeah.
you got some nerve.
Well, I mean, that much hasn't changed. I might forget a lot, but I don't think I've forgotten that.
How long you been here? How long, Hazel Faye? Did you go
In
without
this
seeing your
house,
husband?
about 2 minutes. I've gone to see Thorn already. He's in the shed.
You know what I mean, Hazel Faye.
I thought I was gonna die on the Blight trip. How could I leave to go die, forget to go die, and then come back and visit and say, well, hold on, I've got to go die? And you're talking at the temple. Did Mother Corrin tell you why I've done what I've done?
She said you went on some mad quest, that it might have worked, but you were off on some other mad quest already, and that's why you couldn't come and see your family.
It's a fair cop.
You never thought I was good enough for him.
You
and
never
honestly,
were.
I know. Until today. Do you know what I got on that mad quest?
No.
Silver tea leaves. The memory tree leaves. Enough to turn one person. And the second mad quest I went through was clearing the sacred grove. So I know you're mad at me, and you can think that I'm worthless for all you want, but right now, I have just enough in my possession, thanks to Grandmother of the Mountain. I can make the tea for Thorn. And he will be the start of the new memory grove for our people. I talked to a banshee's body. Like, it's not like I was having tea and scones, Willa. That wouldn't be much of an adventure anyway.
Well, I tell you what, I have been mostly having tea and scones. And it ain't been much better.
No.
And Fern started going too. And Mama, I'm on my way out the door, and I don't know what to do.
I know it's frightening. And with all that's going on in the world, I mean, Willow, look, apart from our debate, you and me, I saw him. I see the seashells. I know it has taken an incredible amount of work, and you may never have liked me, but you love him, and I know that when I went off on this mad quest, there's no one alive who could have taken better care of Thorn than you. No one. That includes me.
You know, Hazel Faye, I will never like you. But I love you, and I'm glad you're here.
Well, good Lord, you're going to make me cry. Willow, what the hell? We must be getting old.
Must be. Also, you just rolled in here with a gaggle of people into our home. Who are these people?
Hi, I'm
Welcome.
Derek.
Hi. Hospitality. Whatever. Shells everywhere. What's up?
I think like during the whole family conversation as it started to like unroll, Kelly just started to use the like wood elf ability to blend in with the surroundings, just like, oh no, it's fine. No, I'm not here.
Best use of Mask of the Wild.
Yeah.
I'm going, Callie, I know you're in here. Stop hiding behind my furniture. I can do it too.
Not sorry, force of habit. Hello, thank you for having us. Mama's truly been a gift.
They've kept me alive for the good or ill of it. but this is the group that I have been traveling with.
And there's kind of a pause as she turns and she looks at Callie specifically. Are you the one Mother Corin talked about? The Paragon?
That be me. Pleased to meet you. And Callie has like, after like 14 outfits, decided that she would just wear her regular gear, like perfectly clean, and she swapped out the like cloak clasp, which normally is dull and blends in with the environment, for like something shinier, like a sash. And yeah, she has her hair like down instead of like straightened back with a crown of braids. That's
You know, they're saying already down in Swamp Shadow that you were. They were saying you were carrying a blade of the Old Kingdom, that you were going to bring back the Elven Kingdom.
those are all true. And I'll untie the sword, but it's still in the scabbard. Just sort of like, well, not for her to like take, but to see.
Yeah, I'll let you know right now. She ain't moving to take it. So everyone knows the score. But well, I'm honored, and I'm sorry you got stuck with this old coot. But I thank you for everything you did for her.
Well, his history would show we are nothing without each other, so I owe Mama quite a bit.
And something smells like the rot of the city? What is that?
Oh, that's Ayla, but I'm Derek.
Derek, can we have
The guy
Arnie
you owe
stand
4
outside?
copper to?
no? Can we have Arnie stand outside, please?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Just Arnie go and just go.
Thank you, Arnie.
The smell's not gone.
That rot just smells like the one time I went to Chipscale. Just trash and garbage and refuse. Ain't nothing good in those cities, and ain't no one good in them either. Let me tell you. Then she turns and almost like for the first time realizes you're there, Alar. Hello. I'm Willow.
Hello. It's nice to meet you. Alar. And we've heard so much about you. For everybody who actually knows Alar, it would probably be pretty easy to see that he is putting up the, oh, we're in disguises now. But there's like this little bit of like genuine anger at the like back of his, and like actual dislike at like the back of his eyes. Not a fan. But well, I just wanted to say thank you for well, obviously taking care of Thorn, but you know, we've been so appreciative of having Mama with us. Look, I personally wouldn't know what we would have done against Lolth if Mama hadn't been there for that. It was quite impressive.
Son, you look like you come from the city, and maybe you're fast and loose with the language out there, but you do not blaspheme in this house.
Oh, I wasn't. I was being literal. It was quite fun. Well, fun. Terrifying. Thank God Mama was there for that.
I just ask you don't use the Dark One's name in this house again.
I think your sister's a racist.
Do you say that out loud?
I say it to Mama in a whispered tone.
Okay.
She's not my sister.
I'm
She's
very good.
Thorn's. She's my sister-in-law.
Oh, so you legally have to like her. That sucks.
Yes.
We just eat the ones we don't like.
Well, as you can see, Willa, I found a whole group of folks who are just like me.
Strange lot, and I'm afraid last I knew, goblins were mostly meat eaters. We don't really do that in this house, so I do have food that I can share, but I just have And she like turns and kind of like looks at you, Mama, and it's just like, Thorn's favorite food is this egg soup stew that Mama used to make when she'd bring back the load from the chickens, and I've been making a lot of that lately. If you're okay with eggs, then you're welcome to join us.
Yeah, I mean, I could also just fill up on appetizers as well. And he like takes some dirt in a shell and just sticks it in his mouth.
You do have a very specific diet.
Honestly, if that's gonna clean the place up, I do not mind.
So,
You know, he
Well,
always tells me. Yeah, Mama, go ahead.
did you say something about Fern earlier?
Yeah, she started showing signs and getting bad like you were, and well, it's hard to tell the difference between that and the drink sometimes. And Moon knows how far along she really was by the time she left. And you know, Fern, she didn't go up and see Mother Cora, and she didn't stop to find folk in Swamp Shadow. She kind of went on a bender in a rage, and just all fire and brimstone, and headed off northward. I'm not sure where.
I won't be headed northward next, I guess. I don't want to stick around for the fate to catch me either. I'd rather take out as many problems in this world as I can before I go.
Yeah. I've always been more the homebody, Mama. I don't know where that leaves me. They used to make tea for folk like me, and it sounds like you found some, but not a lot.
We have enough for one.
Yeah.
When the tree grows, we'll have more. But it's been so long since they've grown a grove, I don't know how long it's going to take.
Well, I know how long it takes to grow a tree,
Yeah.
and I know how long it takes to cultivate some of the tough flowers that you get to use magic. Do you know how much he loves some of those flowers that only you can grow?
Yeah.
Finally just got one of them to shoot 2 weeks ago.
Hmm.
Those little blue ones with the bells on the end. They're his favorite.
They are.
2 weeks ago. It's been months, Mama. Couldn't even get the seeds to sprout. Cheater.
Yeah. Yeah, that I am.
But
Never
I know,
had the patience you have.
but I know some of these strange plants take a lot of work and a lot of time. And I can still do some work, such as I always would, but time is something I don't think you and I got. And certainly not Fern.
Well, Fern will do what Fern does. And I'm sorry to say that. I haven't heard from Thistle or Lake. I don't know if Thistle's gone or not because he traveled years ago and now I don't know where he is.
I ain't heard much from him, Mama. Somebody led a lot of those kids that I did help raise to think that maybe I wasn't the best person around here, or caused a lot of the troubles around here, or made life a little tougher around here, and some of them don't reach out to me.
Think I'll write some letters before I go, before I forget.
I'd appreciate it. But I mean, who knows?
Well, Olive's just like gone off somewhere. She is out in the wild world.
There was some elf rolling through town, maybe 6 weeks ago, claiming to be your daughter. She had just deep black hair, little bits of green at the edge. Uh, Carried a big old axe, was carrying Olive's axe. That was how I heard about it. Said she was your daughter. She
Huh.
rolled through, asked if anybody had seen you, said she knew that you were still alive, but we all knew you weren't. We were wrong. She was right.
Huh.
And I'll say, for the best, we were wrong. But I don't know what that was about. But some elves got Olive's axe.
Wow. Well, that's a tough one. I got so many kids. Well, there's Heather, and there's Holly, and there's Juniper, and Ash, and Birch, and Olive. Well, and that's just the ones who lived in the house. Like, that's not even counting kind of the adopted kids. Just like Thorn had his adoptive menagerie.
Yeah, don't get him started talking about his kids, because he just mixes the menagerie in it, and you're going to be there all day.
True.
You know, for all the things that man cannot remember, I think he remembers every single one of those animal names that he gave.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I don't know how to tell him, Willa. I'm gonna do my best. But I'll make the tea myself.
Of course. Is that something you can do here? Is that a ceremony elsewhere? How is that?
DM out of game. Do I know? Like,
You know it's pretty fast once they drink it, so presumably you would be giving him the tea at the
okay, at the
at the
save.
grove.
I need him to come with me to the temple and then to the grove. It'll be there. I found a beautiful place for him. There's all kinds of ravens and buzzards. He loves birds.
Yeah.
Sees beauty in everything. And that includes me.
Yeah, somehow. But I know what you mean. That sounds like a great place for him. I asked him a while back why he makes all these little trinkets. I don't think he knows, but I wanted you to know that the answer that he did give was he just needed to know the one he was making for you was perfect.
He used to make them all the time when we were recording.
I know, I taught him how to. In fact, I think I made the first one that he gave you. Never told you that.
No, he never did.
But we all make mistakes. Mama, it's the best to see you that it's ever been.
And it's the best to see you that it's ever been. Just wish it hadn't taken us 270 some odd years to get there.
Well, at least we got there, I suppose. I'd rather it be under different circumstances. I'd rather you just not be a shitheel, honestly. But given what we got, I appreciate you, Mama.
Appreciate you too. And thank you for taking care of Thorn.
Let's bring him in and have a dinner.
Mm-hmm.
But she goes out to, presumably with you, goes out to the shed, brings him inside, and there's this soup that's like thickened with egg and has a lot of like greens and some root vegetables in it, and it has spice. It is like rather spicy, and you know Willow hates it. But she sits down, has like a small bowl, and then like a pile of grain that she like puts the spicy soup over, and everybody else just kind of has a bowl. But you all sit down to a nice country dinner, some of you having to push unceremoniously some of the little shell strands out of the way to find a spot.
Yeah, we're gonna take all those vegetables out of that soup. Nope.
Ellie will take
Nope.
them.
This really is delicious. Is there any way I could get the recipe? You've never made this while we were out.
Dirt.
Well, cooking pots are sometimes a little difficult to manage over a live fire,
Fair enough.
especially when we're not necessarily supposed to have one because a manticore or wyvern or sky gators or whatever we're watching out for.
And while you're having this conversation, oh, manticore. I
Two.
done heard of them, but I ain't seen them. Mama, you gotta tell me about this manticore.
Well, I will do that.
And as you start talking about the beast and probably painting what happened in a little bit nicer picture, he's most interested in what they were like and how they were acting and the fact that it looked like they were a pair. And just for the first time since you've been back, you can see he's fully attentive and kind of wrapped in the conversation as you're talking about that. You describe the manticore, and then he mentions the wyverns, and you talk about the mama and baby wyvern, and he has like chibi anime eyes as you're talking about this mama with her baby and how you all like were in danger, but you let them live, yeah, you just have a nice dinner talking through some of your exploits, but focusing more on the beasts that you encountered and some of the different things that you've had around.
Like the idea of Derek also busting in during the chibi eye part. Yeah, and then this parasite just came bursting out of its chest.
Yep, it was impressive how you managed to pull off helping the manticore give birth to its child. Weird way to phrase it. Goblin's an interesting language, but boy was that successful.
It probably is the same word in Goblin, though.
Oh, yeah, probably.
But you come to wind down the evening. Are there any specific conversations, anything that anyone wants to talk through as you have this evening here at the home of Hazel Faye?
Something occurred to me. Is there a moment that we can get alone with Mama?
It's up to her. If she lets Willow and Thorn away from her side, that's totally up to her.
I mean, I would go out to the front just to kind of check the animal shed for him. I'd just tell him I'm going to say goodnight, like I would usually do.
Yep, and he reminds you to watch your hand as you're feeding Beth the owl bear. You know, you had this owl bear for like 2 months, like a century ago. And he still thinks fondly back on it. He still has that big cage that he's used for a few things, but mostly it had to be special built for it. So he always had this dream that, there would be more big beasts like that, or a manticore that would be. So he's like, mind Beth, she likes to snap. She's just in pain. That ain't her fault. And Chitters will take a finger. You want to be careful. And he just kind of like goes through like a list of way more than you have cages. He goes through a list
Yeah,
of like 20 and like each one what you got to be careful about.
I will do that, Thorn. I'll be real careful. We'll stand at a nice, polite distance for the strangers, okay?
Yeah, don't crowd them. They do get
We
scared.
won't. We will not scare them. So I walk just to kind of like see if there's any animals in there, and I assume that folks are just coming with me.
It's just Arnie.
Yeah, also talking to Willow, you didn't ask directly about it, but kind of like in passing, before he went and got Thorn, she mentions, you know, how it's been like years since he was able to tend to the animals, and it's
Hmm.
real sad to see that, you know, kind of place fallen into disrepair. But
Yeah.
from what Willow said, it sounds like it's probably been 5 or more years since an animal's been out there. But
Mm,
again, Mama, like your recollection is that they should be there.
yeah. Yeah, that tradition is really kind of like hard. Like once I'm here, like I have to go, and then I'll come in and have more conversations. Well, folks, that's my family. There you go. Minus all the children.
Speaking of family, do we in-game know about your new ability from the level up?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I mean I don't keep secrets really.
Okay.
Like that's
I
not
didn't know
how
if you had
Hazel
a
does things.
I didn't know if you
Yeah.
had like a something planned for it or, you know.
No. I was gonna
Um
cast detect thoughts if Willow got too nasty, but other than
mm,
that,
that wasn't too nasty. Um
eh.
we might want to come up with some sort of signal that we can do for having you reach out if you have that ability, just for future reference. But you said you saw Olive in the stuff that the grandmother of the mountain had told you, right?
Yeah.
So what's the likelihood that the elf is Olive and she traded away whatever makes a dragonborn a dragonborn?
Scales, I think.
I don't think she would trade that away. She loves her, like she was so proud of her mama, and
Mhm.
she loved being her mama's daughter. I don't know that she would trade that part of herself.
Um, fair. To be, I mean, the grandmother wasn't exactly explicit about what things would cost, but
Well, that's true. I mean, that might have been the cost then.
it would
I
just
don't
explain
know.
the axe.
Yeah, yeah, it would. It certainly would. Wouldn't, if she'd had hair, she would have loved black hair with, green tips. That sounds about right up Olive Street, but, her name is Olive.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I swear you're out of all the conversation we had today. That's what stuck in your brain. It's so interesting.
Would you rather me tell you about my impression of your sister-in-law, or do you want something more productive?
Oh,
Because you get
I
one
know
of the
what
two.
you for being a sneaky person, Elias. Like you're not real guarded in terms of your expression. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not guarded, but you're definitely not either. I wouldn't
Um,
have to cast detect thoughts on you.
I wouldn't expect you to. No, I don't feel the need. I don't need to trick her, but I also don't need to be honest with her. So
Yeah, that's fair.
anyway, that's something else to keep an eye out on, I guess, if we hear about any other elves with Olive's axe. Anything you need us to do while we're here? Anything we can help with?
I don't know how I'm gonna talk to him,
Okay.
or how I'm gonna get him to the temple. Like, I just don't know how I'm gonna do it.
Mhm.
I don't know if it'll stick, but can't hurt. I know it
couldn't.
hurt. I appreciate that, Derek, but I think I've got to do it myself. I got to be an adult about these things.
Oh, I meant I'll make you a wheelbarrow.
I
Make it
know.
easier.
Well, he's not. He doesn't. If he decides he doesn't want to go somewhere, he won't. Look, he might be forgetting things, but he's plenty strong.
I think if you tell him you're going on a trip and that you're taking him somewhere, from at least what I saw, I think he'd go pretty much anywhere you ask him to.
Well, any concerns from any of the rest of you? Because otherwise, I think I got to go talk to a man about a trip.
Yeah.
I think at this section, the rest of the group may notice that Callie has slipped away, and if I could get Molly to mute her headphones, Callie wanted to go back to talk to Thorn and Willow. Okay. She kind of like listens in, and Elias is spinning his theories, and she's like, okay, that's important, but it's okay, I can wander off. She kind of goes back and knocks on the door, and it's just like, hi, I don't mean to interrupt, but I wondered if I could have your permission to make something of a gift for Mama and your family.
Thorin looks over. I ain't ever been much for gifts. I don't rightly know you, so I might feel a little funny about it. But you were one of my Wildcat's friends, and if it's for her, I'm fine with it. And Willow kind of turns to you and says, we'd be honored.
Thank you. It involves some of your delightful bracelets, so if you don't mind, I'd just like to collect up some. And then I just need to borrow your workshop maybe for a little bit tonight.
Yeah, certainly. I can show you around. I prefer you didn't touch any of the jewelry that I made for Mama. I've only got a few good pieces, so I don't want to. And Willow looks to you and she's like, yes, please.
Yeah, that's like, kind of like you make eye contact with. Absolutely. So no, that would be much obliged. Yeah.
But he walks you out to the workshop, and you have to remind him what you're doing a couple of times, but as you get out there, he points out, here's the workbench, here's where a bunch of the tools are, here's where there's some spare wood, and kind of walks you through it. And then he after he walks you through it, he kind of sits down and starts kind of working at his bracelets again.
I will gently, after he does one, steer him back, be like, I think your sister and Mama might have been waiting for you back at the house, Mr. Thorne.
Yes. Let me go head up that way.
I'll make sure I close up.
Yeah. And he gets up and he heads back, and you see he follows the path, and he looks at, I worked till it was dark, and he follows the path back up to the house.
And before we unmute Molly, Callie's plan is to eventually loop in Derek if possible, and probably Elias, and make a series of wind chimes that combine the reflective shiny bracelets and the hanging down with hollowed-out wood, so that potentially we can hang them from the tree in the grove for Mama and Thorn. So to make a couple really pretty ones, but also nature-based. So that's her thought. So that's it.
All right, sounds good. All right. Anything else for the evening?
Are we staying at Mama's house? Or are we going back to...
No, we're staying at my house.
I think I have a staff I need to drop off. Also, I get to do that twice a day now.
Oh, sweet. Um,
I heard that resentment in your voice.
no, I'm excited for you to do more of that. You can make dark steel, and you can craft all kinds of stuff. Like,
Give me 300 days and 750 gold, and I can make basic plate mail. Or plate armor. Because D&D crafting rules suck.
yeah, no, we're not using those rules like basically at all. If you're like for you specifically because of your characters, whatever. We'll talk through what it takes, but you can definitely make plate mail in like a couple days.
Ooh.
Also, can you imagine
You can make dark steel plate mail in a couple days.
2 child death cards?
Tied together with a rope. Death
Roller
card chucks.
coaster. You can invent so many things this way.
So
can make a
anyway,
train.
There's not going to be an orphan left on this planet that hasn't been maimed by this tiny goblin.
We at some point have to find like a mine, like an actual mine with like the minecart rails, and have you create like some horrifying minecart with like a sledge in front to crush anything we come across.
And then charge
Donkey
children
Kong
2
time.
gold apiece.
Yes.
I
Very
also
unsafe. Giant jumps and loop-de-loops to get through the whole thing.
I made the staff for what's his name.
Mhm.
It's a staff of vitality vigilance.
Mm-hmm.
If he ever falls down, he can click on this little switch, and a spring shoots out a little note that informs people that this person has fallen down and cannot get up. And I don't know the spell message, or I was gonna put a glyph on it that would like send off an alarm or something so people could be alarmed. So I didn't have that. So it's got a bottle rocket that's inside the handle, which I'm now recognizing. Probably I shouldn't have faced it upward, in case he accidentally hits the button and the bottle rocket comes up through the top and hits him in the face.
Could you build a catheter into it?
Oh god.
No, but it's hollow, so I guess he could just pee in it.
I'm just saying, he's currently peeing into relics.
But yeah, that's the staff of vitality vigilance.
excellent. Mama, are you waiting until you are setting out to have that conversation, to only have to have it once?
Yeah,
Sounds good.
which is not the most restful thing for her to do, but it's just better closer to the time.
And you take a little bit, and you see that Willow is like starting to prepare some like traveling clothes for Thorn, and kind of preparing the house to be shut up for a few days. You see she's got a little around the back side of the house, there's like a little still that she wants to shut off so it's not going while everybody's gone, and such and whatnot. But yeah, if that's all we're doing for the evening, we can bring the evening to a close. And we're going to go ahead and take our 10-minute break, give or take. And we'll be back in about 10 minutes, picking up with Thorn and company, heading up towards the temple. So we'll see you all in about 10 minutes. I have really nothing else to say. I don't know why I said see you in 10 minutes. And we're back. So, having met up with Mama's family, or those that remain at Mama's old homestead, the party has prepared for the next day, had a fine dinner of this egg stew, and is preparing to head up to the temple. I want to check in with what everyone is up to before Mama, I think for obvious reasons, so we're going to start in with Elias. What are you up to?
What's the time jump here?
You're muted, Nate.
I'm not muted, I'm just hitting the wrong button. Sorry, the time jump is just the morning. So
Okay.
you finished your dinner. There's everything else. So it's the morning. But wanted to check if there's anything you wanted to be doing in particular, or if you're just prepping to head up.
I will do some of like my alchemical crafting over the course of the long rest. That's basically it. I don't have anything else to talk about.
Sounds good. And you find there's actually some spots that are clear near the, there's a still behind the house, and there is a simple alchemical, or a simple setup that could be used for alchemical purposes back there, plus your own gear. It's a nice little setup.
Does it smell deeply of bog water?
You know it.
Willow, I guess, has not been making Mama's secret sauce the entire time Mama's been gone.
No. Willow has absolutely been making bog water. This is a family thing. Like Mama taught Thorn to do it. Thorn, against Mama's wishes, taught Willow to do it. And yeah, I mean, this is... Fern was probably doing it for a while, until recently. But yeah, you're able to do that. Derek, you doing anything in the morning?
I'll spend one of my... Oh, actually, I was going to see if I could, right before I bed down for the night, when I'm giving what's-his-name his staff, I'd also like to put a glyph of warding on the wall, take that hour, but rather than obviously an explosion, it's when you put your whole hand on it as the activator, it casts a... So it says I can use any spell that's 3rd level or lower, so I think I'm actually just going to go with a 3rd level Cure Wounds. Can you use Glyph of Wardings to give non-destruction events?
Yeah, why not?
Neat. And then that way he's also got, like, what do you call it? An oh shit first aid button. Or actually, honestly, it's a forge if anybody has an oh shit moment.
Yeah, no, you literally installed what you think should be standard.
It's exactly what I was
Forge
thinking.
safety. So yeah, you trek up a couple hours to bring him his staff, and in the evening, and he thanks you, and you put up the ward, and he's, well, I always just assumed it was their problem if they got burned, but that's not the worst idea.
This is the oh shit it button.
Indeed. All right. And first thing in the morning, Mama, what are you up to?
Well, I sit down with Thorn as we've done for probably at least 150 years. The coffee, the tea, or whatever we drink in the morning. Probably coffee for me. Probably tea for him.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
So Thorn, I'm gonna be going on a trip, and I'd like you to come with me.
Hazel, I know that you haven't been well for a little while. And I must not be too hot on your heels, or I must be pretty hot on your heels here. You know I wouldn't have it any other way. It would, oh, it would eat me alive to see you go off without me.
We're gonna start at the Temple of the Moon.
That seems right. I know you and Lady Corin have been close for a long time. And no matter what Fern says, I'm glad you got to spend your time up there.
Me too. Do you remember the stories from when we were little about the memory groves? Wait before our time.
Yeah, I do. I still wish for them. Pray for them every night.
So, on that wild trip I went on before, I found some of the tea leaves to make a memory tree.
The last trip I remember you taking, there was some kind of swamp beast that the circle was asking you to go and help with down in the valley, in the hollow.
There? It was further up. Still a swamp, though.
I see.
You know, things get fuzzy.
Yeah, but how could you sit on that information for so long, Hazel?
I haven't. It's only been a few months. That's why I'm back here.
You can see he's like kind of scrunching up his face and starting to look a bit frustrated. He doesn't. Well, I trust you, Hazel. And then now, as he looks at you, like, now he's starting to look like he's concerned for you. I remember now, Hazel. Yeah. Let's go up and see Mother Corin. We can talk to her about the memory trees.
Yes, we can. You know, you've always been the brave one, so I'm going to have you be a little more brave for me as we go on this trip.
Oh, I'll protect you. I'll always be right there, right in front of you. You know I'm here to go first.
I know you are.
When we head up, I'll have to talk to Willa and make sure she knows to watch over all the creatures and keep the house.
I wrote out instructions for her.
Good. And the kids must be off on a camping trip or something. I ain't seen them in a few days, but hopefully they'll be at the temple. We gotta see them before we go.
I know, but they'll be along.
Okay.
Well, you got your travel shoes on, love?
And he looks down and oh, so I do. Must have done that by accident this morning.
Nope. Time for the trip. You and me together.
He stands up and kind of like turns toward the door. Everybody's kind of like getting their things together and preparing to go out. And you can see Willow's getting ready to close up the house, and she just kind of like takes a long look at Thorn, at you, just across the house, and lets out a big sigh. And he turns to you and he just puts his arm out for you to take it.
And I do.
Let's go on a walk, Mama.
I thought you'd never ask.
You all, the small coterie, heads out the front door. Willow turns around and you can see there's a simple padlock with a large iron key, and she turns and she goes to lock it, and she looks at the house. She looks at the group walking up the path. She leaves it unlocked and turns and takes up the rear.
I send her a message telepathically. Thank you.
She looks startled.
And then I just smile to myself as I walk along.
She looks startled, and you don't hear a response back. You almost hear like fumbling, like, and she turns and she sees you kind of give a little chuckle, and she just shakes her head and wipes a tear and takes up the rear of the group, heading up the path. It's slow going. Probably takes you twice as much time to get up as it took you to come down here, because Thorn wants to stop and look at every squirrel that runs across your path. He's got a story about a mountain lion from this one grove, and Willow does not have the heart to cut him off, to slow him down, to stop him. And you get centuries of stories of beasts that have passed through, children that you've raised, and memories with you, Mama. A picnic on this hill. That time that a bunch of swarms of nasty insects came in, and you and your druid grove had to go and clear them out, and he didn't sleep a wink, and he's just kind of pointing to different areas where... And Mama, to your knowledge, these are all true. He remembers every one of these. You make your way up the hill until you approach the front of the temple. And standing out there, waiting for you, you can see Penance. You can see Mother Corin, and you can see Glory. The three of them kind of greet you at the front of the temple, and standing next to them, and Mama, you've never seen this, but you see Vernon standing next to them, the old smith, the ancient smith. Some of the folks say he's been here sitting as long as the mountain has. And he's leaning on some weird contraption of a cane. And you can see a little singe mark on the side of his face.
I'm good, it works.
And they're just kind of standing side by side, and you can see the outriders. You knew that some of the hunters and some of the folks who watched the lands, they knew you were coming up. They could see you coming, and so these four are up here just standing and waiting. And Mother Corin steps out first and walks up to you and to Thorn, and Mama, Thorn, Lady Corn. Um, well, and she turns to Thorn and you, Mama. Are we ready for the journey?
We are ready for the journey.
I'm gonna go let your friend know. They've been studying alongside Glory, and that food they feed them up in Bastion. Some of our folk can make it, but who does that by choice? And goes in and gets you Tosha. Mother Corin approaches you. You're on the top floor of the library, kind of like books strewn about, giant owl on your shoulder, and kind of just ducked over, looking closely at books and kind of getting used to using this quill to kind of dig like small shapes into the paper. High Priest, your friends are here. It's time.
Of course. I'll come right away. And I take the small book that I've been writing in with me. And I keep Morana with me as well.
You walked out to the front, and the leader of this temple came to get you and is kind of walking slightly, almost in deference, like a half step behind you. Tosha, other folks might not notice it, but this is the sort of thing that you were trained to do with certain high-ranking officials, or trained not to do with certain high-ranking officials, depending on who it was and the mood Kamishava was in. But you know that she's kind of allowed you to lead on the way out. Head bowed.
As we're kind of heading out, I'll just say to Mother Corin, if you had any message you wished me to bring to Kamishava, I'm happy to convey it. I'm also happy to not convey anything you don't wish me to.
Tell her simply that our temple is always here to receive those that we would take. And those that would have us, we will train, we will help, we will do whatever it is they need. But some healing is beyond us.
Of course.
Right. Well, let us be away. And you have this small procession heading down. Thorn still kind of, every once in a while you need to remind him what the plan is here. But he looks up and he sees, obviously, the High Priest, who's big and imposing. He sees Mother Corin, he sees Glory, Penance. So every once in a while, he's, what was this to do about again, Mama? So you get a few of those, but like he has enough of the kind of cues to know that he's supposed to be following along and that this is something serious is happening.
And I just remind him to, after a couple of reminders, I also just remind him, the High Priest has an owl. Isn't that neat?
And as you point out the owl, the High Priest, having the great cloak of the Krast family, is kind of imposing and just. But then he looks up, and yeah, after a short time, Tosha, you feel somebody fall in step next to you. And you look over and you can see this elderly elf that you know must be Thorn. Just kind of like looking up at you every once in a while. Excuse me, a high priest?
Hello, you must be Thorn. I've been traveling with Mama Hazel for a while now.
Well, I thank you for giving her any blessings that you've been able to.
Of course.
Gods know she says moon bless enough to others. Sometimes she means it, and sometimes she means it, but in a different way. But I'm glad you've been around for her. May I ask you where this magnificent creature came from?
Yes, this is Morana. And I'll kind of like hand out, like, kind of move her down, like, onto my hand so she can be, like, a little closer to Thorn. And I'll say, this is a gift to me from the Asher. And Glory from your temple helped me, learn how to find her.
Yeah, Glory's a good kid. I'm surprised at her age she's able to be doing magic. This is not often that we get... Oh, down south they call him Devilkin. I never right got the name, what we're supposed to be calling him, but I know that ain't right. But it's good that she can teach you, a high priest, magic.
Yes. Very special indeed.
Morana, you said.
Yes.
Now, you let me know. You ever have any issues with that bird? It gets a broken wing, it gets something stuck in its feathers, its claw gets damaged. The beak, sometimes the beaks can crack, and it's real bad. But you come and you let me know, I'll fix it right up for you.
Thank you, Thorn. It's great to know that I'll be able to get her help if she ever needs it.
May I pet her?
Sure. I think you should ask her, but it's fine with me.
And like the procession has been walking along slowly, but he like stops kind of like in his tracks to like address the owl. And you can see he kind of lowers his head just below her eye level, and he reaches into his pocket, and just in his pockets always is a tiny little like roll of... You don't know what it is, Tosha? Mama knows. This is when he finds like dead critters, he kind of cooks it up and makes this little paste and then sticks fuzz on it, and the raptors will just eat it right out of his hand. So he just kind of leans in towards it. Well, Morana, I got something here for you. If in your master, the Asher, says that you're allowed to eat, I'd like you to offer this to you.
I'll just telepathically, say to Morana, he's a friend.
And Morana kind of like looks him in the eye, twists one way, twists another. And you can see as Morana's looking at him, he's just staring into kind of where the eyes are, and it kind of like falls into that almost like optical illusion sort of look with the concentric circles, and almost as though they're just hypnotized in each other's eyes before Morana leans forward and picks up the little bit, and he just reaches up with his offhand and pets across the top back of the head. That's a beautiful creature you got there. He turns to it. You take care of this high priest now. And falls back with Mama, takes your Armageddon, and continues on the path. As you're walking along, Vernon actually falls in step with you, Derek. Could I ask...
Like he's taking tiny steps?
Yeah. Could I ask the purpose of the explosive and the stick?
Oh, right. Well, occasionally you get somebody's attention, like if you fall down, you can push that button. It shoots off the rocket, because I don't have the necessary know-how how to like make it immediately message your the bloke who works the forge or anyone of importance.
I like the idea. Sometimes you make something for the first time and it blows up in your face. Sometimes it blows up in other people's faces. He kind of like looks at you intensely for a moment. But All the more reason to try again and do better next. It blew up in my face. That's what I'm letting you know, small one.
You didn't read the instruction manual?
It was 250 pages. I don't know how you made that in a single day, but I was not able to read all of it.
That seems like a user error to me, perfectly honest, but yes, I shall take your words to heart. I had an idea for one with a siren that you can't turn off. So that way, if you're in trouble, like, whoever's attacking you can't turn off your siren stick. It's activated by saying the word "the." It's a common enough word, everybody should know how to use it. I can give it to everybody. Poor, rich, doesn't matter. Everybody knows how to say that.
I think you should distribute them around the temple, and there are some aged folks here like myself that could probably benefit from such things, yes. Maybe 10 or 15 of them around, as people might need them.
That's a good idea. Or we can install them in buildings and people could turn them on if there's like a fire or something.
And when the fire is over and it is time for them to not be on anymore,
They'll go out in like 8 to 10 days. After the magic wears off.
you should try that in your own sleeping quarters. Just as a test, that data thing you had mentioned.
It's a good point. I'll have to run it by the rest of the group though to make sure they're cool with me setting a fire in the house.
It depends on the house, I suppose. There's a fire in my house every day.
True.
Kelly, Penance approaches you as you kind of pass through. My lord?
Penance? Oh, you can just call me Callie. No, my lord is my father's name.
Yes, my lord Kelly. What will you
What can I do?
once you have restored the memory grove today? Once the memories grove has been restored today?
Well, I figure that it's just the beginning of repairing things that have been torn for quite a long time. You know, Mistseers and Mudskippers have been divided for so long, and the High Elves won't even look at either of us. And here it all turns out that we are about the same. So I feel like there's a lot of work to be done to bring the kin back in line, stop the infighting.
This tiefling, born to elven parents, looks at you, and you are quite literally preaching to the converted.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, I've never been one to shun folk for the way they look. I figure judge them based on what they do, but I know I'm not always in the majority from the swamp.
With the stories going around about you, you might find yourself in that majority soon.
Well, that is the dream, Penance. Things waking up, but also maybe new beginnings. So, with folk like this around me, I think we stand a fair good chance to make a lot of things that have gone wrong quite right.
I think so too. Seeing what you did, what the whole group did, I don't think I can stay here too much longer. It's important some folks protect the mountain, of course, and I can keep training some folks and get them ready, but I think I need to be out in the world too, doing what I can. And spreading the word. Everything that's been lost isn't gone.
I think that's mighty grand of you, Penance. I don't know if I have, unlike you, your skills in history and drive. I don't know, some kind of like lieutenant, if you want to travel with the. I guess if I'm going to be the Paragon, my authority of sorts.
If I could, I would be more than honored. But your journey's taking you north, and we've got a lot of folk near here, and I'd like to rally those that are capable for the cause under your banner, if I might.
Yeah. And she'll reach in under her like jerkin and take off this like necklace.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And it's got like a signet ring on it, but it's crafted of probably like an ironwood, as opposed to like a metal. And on it has like the Defera crest. And she'll give it to Penance. Like, I don't have so much of a banner per se for this new line, but this is, especially if you go as far south as I'm from, showing this to anyone there will grant you favor with the musket.
That's good to know. We're a long time split, our peoples. You probably can't tell, but I Mist Seer, Wood Elf. By family, at least. We've been split for a long time, and more it seems like that never should have happened.
You see the right of it, Penance. Right to the core. Mountless, older, like it, that warm camaraderie and breed.
Well, suppose we got things to be tending to.
Those we do.
Elias, all of these people hate Southerners. I'm really sorry, but I don't really have a moment for you here.
I'm good.
As they head along, you spend the few hours that it takes to get to the Grove. And this is part of the mountain that while in his youth, Thorn may have been to a few times, he's not very familiar with it. It is known to be more dangerous than the other parts of the mountain. And you approach and you can see there's just a light, kind of almost gold-colored smoke coming out of the ground in like a big circle, roughly at the same, or if you really wanted to measure it, it's at the same spot where the edge was before. That kind of was like the connection to the Shadowfell. But there's just this light ring of golden smoke, and it creates a little bit of a mist, and it's actually kind of hard to see into the grove as you approach. And Mother Corin turns to the group and says, well, they've mostly finished the hallowing of the land here. I'll be participating in the finalizing of that. But I've already mentioned to the folks here who ought to know that I will be passing on the mantle of the leader of this temple. And I will not be around for much time after that mantle passes. It is a protection on me. So, in this moment, I would just like to say, I thank you all for everything that you've done. Thorn, Mama, I thank you for the life that you've lived and that you've shared with us. And to the rest of you, I have little else to offer you besides my thanks at this stage. But even that could never be enough for what you've done for our people and for everyone here. Thank you so much.
And of course, like Mama's like already like weeping, uh, has her hanky out, like, but then like does come forward and hugs her friend because she doesn't really think about ceremony very well.
And Thorn looks a little confused, but kind of takes the cue that this is like your moment, Mama, and kind of stands off a little bit. And you see, there's just like, he's old and kind of kooky, but there's like a stern look on Vernon's face as she says this, and you can just see there's just a stream of tears running down one side of his craggy old face, right over the burn spot.
Hmm.
And as you approach, you can feel there's a little bit of that where you have to push through to enter the grove. Not nearly as strong as before. You don't have to push through for like a minute. You just kind of, it's weird. It's almost like air kind of blowing you back as you push through, but simple enough. And you make your way into the grove. And once you're inside, it is not foggy. The fog appears from the outside, but from within here, it's a beautiful sunny day. There's a handful of dead trees that have been left, taken up space that might continue to sprout maybe in the future. The grasses have started to come back, and you can see, Mama, maybe some items or some magic left behind by your druid circle, who is currently still dispersed, has already been started to be used to bring back some of the flora and the fauna to this grove. And you walk towards the center, where there's a great gaping hole in the earth where there was once the memory of Swift Arbor Regalian. And next to it, the closed sarcophagus of Talia. Placed on top of the sarcophagus is a small stone, mostly flat, rounded edges like a river stone, with a bunch of tiny and incredibly intricate runic work done all around the edges and kind of pointed in towards the center. And it's, as you look at it, it looks like it's been placed on top of the sarcophagus, but as you approach, it almost looks like the very bottom of it is even fused with the sarcophagus. And Mother Corin walks up and, well, I suppose we ought to get started. This is the anchor stone that we've placed. And from here is where the ground has been hallowed. This grove is more important than me, than you, Mama, than any of us, than the temple itself. And it will be protected. Thank you for everything, Mama.
Thank you.
Vernon comes up and approaches her, and she takes off her ring. And as she does, you can actually see some of her hair just fall out. And you can see her skin start to wrinkle and shrivel against her bones a little bit. And she hands the ring over to Vernon, who places it on top of that anchor stone, and places one hand on the anchor stone and one hand on Mother Corin. And Mother Corin starts to speak. Now, as in days long past, we consecrate the sacred grove to preserve our kin and the knowledge of ages. By the moon we have been damned, but so too her guidance. Through her guidance we are saved. It is in her light I consecrate this grove, hereafter known as Thorn's Rest. May Saloon watch over and protect the trees. She looks over at Thorn as you can see dust, actively particles start to come out as she's talking. And she looks over at Thorn and she says, and she smiles, and beasts of this grove, long after the last beast roams the sky or the plains, and the last wind blows through the mountains, and the last sun sets on our eternity. Moon, bless this land. And as she speaks, you can see that Vernon has one hand on the ring and one hand on Corin, and there's a bright yellow glow at the top of the ring, and it starts to turn to a golden fire. And Derek, you've seen this. This is the fire that you get when you craft with the essence of life.
Right.
But as he does this, it's a brighter and deeper, you can barely look at it, fire. And Derek, from what you understand about the mechanics of what this is, this couldn't be done with blood. As best as you could tell, it seems that he's using Mother Corin's soul to transmute this magic item to have a different and more powerful effect than it used to. And you see Mother Corin kind of shrivel and shrink, and there's just this golden fog that starts to take up the place where she stands. And her clothes fall to the ground, and there's just this fog that slowly dissipates as the fire brightens. And you see Vernon, as the fog disappears completely, Vernon lifts his left hand and makes a fist and slams it down on the ring. And the ring sets into the stone with a flash of light. And you can see there's a golden wall that encircles this grove. You don't know what protections it offers, but if this ring protected Mother Corin from the ravages of time for who knows how many centuries, it has advanced the protections of this land even more so. And you can see Glory stepping forward, her just streaming tears down her gold-flecked cheeks. And she bends over and she, from the pile of clothing on the ground, picks up a holy symbol to Saloon and places it on. As the new mother of the temple, I'm here alongside Hazel Faye and all who would join to witness the birth of our first memory tree in this grove, Thorn's Rest. And she brings you, Mama. There's obviously the daughters had the whole setup that you had told them about, and they've got some different kinds of plants and tinctures that are used in this thing aside from your leaves that you keep. They have alcohols and a bit of water boiling, and you know that essentially once you start this, it can't be stopped, but it should be a matter of just a few minutes of putting this tea together. And they step aside and they bring a cloth, a sort of one of the cloths that like a lesser priest of the temple might wear during ceremonies, and they drape it across your shoulders, and they bring you up to the altar where the setup is. And alongside you, they prepare the first tea. Glory and Willow are talking to Thorn, and they brought him over, and you can see Thorn was never one for, he would occasionally pray when he had worries, but he was never one for thoughtful meditation, not in that way. But he goes to the spot that you had picked out. Well, this seems a pleasant view. And he sits and bows his head in like a quiet meditation with Glory having a hand on his shoulder. And the sisters, or the daughters, excuse me, brought up a number of different vessels. Not sure what you would wanted to serve him with, because it was your ceremony. But you see among them, Mama, a bit of a bowl carved from wood, but mostly natural, just enough carving that you could use it as a bowl. And then around the edges, just little filigree, or little carvings that are done of small woodland creatures. Some of them realistic, some of them even a little cartoonish or unrealistic and silly, and you know that Thorn wouldn't want a platinum-coated bowl or a gilded bowl, and you see this, and it just makes you smile. But you know, at this point, he need only be served, and if everything was done right, whatever it's supposed to happen will happen.
So I do bring it over to him, and I sit with him.
And he turns and he looks at you. And while you've been preparing it, you can see that Glory and some of the others have been kind of starting their own, like, part of a ritual. You know, this was a whole ritual. It was involved. And he turns and he looks at you, and you feel like you've only had this a few times in the last few days, but you feel like he really sees you, Mama. And he knows what happened and why he's here. Hazel.
Yeah, love.
I'll be right here waiting for you.
No. And you always go first.
I sure do. Gotta make sure it's safe.
You always do. I can't wait to take some tea with you.
I'm looking forward to it.
You're the best there, best man alive. You really are. Best elf ever.
I don't know about all that,
I'll
but
do.
I'm happy to be the best for you, Mama. That's all I ever wanted.
I'm wearing one of the seashells. Bracelet you gave me. It's perfect.
I'm glad you like it.
Makes me feel pretty.
Not that you need it. My wildcat. Be careful out there. I'm gonna be right here waiting for you. You gotta make it back.
I will. You know I'm too stubborn to not be. I wouldn't let anybody else be by your side. Are you kidding? There's nowhere else I would rather be than right by your side.
Hazel,
Yeah,
it's time.
I know. I hope it tastes sweet. I give him the tea.
And he takes it. And he takes a small sip. And you know from the ingredients, it must be bitter. It is medicinal. And he takes it and he makes a little bit of a face and tries to hide it and says, you know I always loved everything you've ever made me. And he just sips the rest of it down. And he takes a deep breath. And you can see there's just like a faint bit of silver glow coming off of him. And he closes his eyes. And the silver sort of mist comes off. And as you're looking, you blink once and you see a sapling. And then you blink again and you see a young tree. And when you blink for a third time, you see a full-grown, almost willow-like tree sitting here on this hillside. In full greenery, little flowers blooming at the tips. In this grove of mostly dead trees and slowly reclaiming grasses and flowers, this great memory tree stands, a symbol of hope for you, Mama, but for all the elves.
I just placed my hand on the trunk.
It feels warm to the touch. Like it's been facing the sun all day.
I turn to Callie and I say, they better not let any woodpeckers in here.
I'm sure they won't, Mama. And when you turn, you see Callie's got this like box. Holds it out. When you open it, inside is this, I guess, rustic but elegant sort of wood chime that's made up of the strings of his bracelets, especially some of the ones that catch the light, and some hollowed out, and a few thorn stick planes.
You're cutting out a little bit.
Cutting out a
Oh,
little.
sorry. She basically made a wind chime made of the bracelets that Thorn makes, with some of the shiny bits that'll catch in the sun, and hollowed out branches for sound, and a few sticks that have thorns to make the little rattling sound, so it can hang in the tree.
Oh, he'd be real pleased with that. I think he'd like it a lot.
Mama, Willow comes up and joins you silently, just puts an arm around your arm and puts a hand on the tree as well.
I'll give you this, Willow. I never was good enough for him. Never was.
She just like looks up at you, tears streaming down her face. I know, Mama.
You old bitch.
I know, Mama. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would have thought the tree would grow so fast? I'm a druid and I can't even do that.
Well, I ain't, and I couldn't either, so. This is more magic than I've seen in my life up to this point, and let me tell you, it's been a while. As you know.
Yeah, that it has. That it has.
And you can see the elders of the temple, Vernon, Glory, Penance, are kind of like respectful deference. They're in awe of the tree, of the grove, of everything that's been done here. But they also recognize this is not their show.
Just wish the kids could have been here.
Yeah. I guess that's maybe the sign of being a good mama. They're doing fine on their own.
That's true. That's true. I'll send them those letters first thing.
Yeah, you better.
Just because I have the few little like flower seeds I keep in my pocket. I grow a couple of bluebells nearby. You know,
Cheater.
a couple of the fancy ones. I'm always going to be a show off.
Yep. But Willow kind of like lets your arm go and sits down with her back to the tree and pulls her knees up to her face and just kind of sobs.
I just sit with her. There's just nothing else I can do, but I just sit by her with her.
I ask Morana to fly and sit in the tree for a little bit because I think Thorn would like that.
I see the owl flying up. I telepathically connect to High Priest. I just say thank you. He would have loved it. He would love it. Or does love it. I mean, he's a tree now. I gotta start thinking of my husband as a tree now.
Yeah, I thought you might.
Finally, an extra use for that little wand.
This is a special kind of tree, though. I don't think normal talking with plants will do for this one. But I don't really know. These haven't existed in a while.
No, at least you could tell the flowers take care of them.
So I cast Talk with Plants.
On the tree.
On the tree.
Hazel.
Thorn?
You have no idea how relaxing it is to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad. We're gonna miss you loads. I promise I'll come back.
I think maybe it's just the way trees think if they can. I think I won't mind the time so much. Trees last a long time. And I'll be here much longer than I ever thought.
you will.
I love you, Hazel. Take
I
care
love
of
you
yourself and come back to me.
I will.
And you can feel Mama as you cast the spell. There is something magical to the nature of the tree, and it does struggle to maintain. So whereas you might have, I think, 10 minutes or an hour or something like that normally, you get maybe a minute out of it.
I think it's only a minute. But Willow, I talked to him. And he says he's real peaceful and real relaxed.
She just starts crying more. And with Mama and Willow crying under the tree, Marana sitting up in Thorn's branches, keeping him company for the moment. And the rest of the party at a respectful distance. I think we're going to end the session there. And we'll pick up next time once we get back to the temple. So thank you everybody for joining. A little bit less combat intense than the last couple sessions, and a little bit more other intense than the last couple sessions. So thank you everybody who was here for this. I don't know, I'm all in my feelings. I don't remember what the shit I say at the end of these. So thank you for coming. This has been great. We'll see you next time. Same Patty time, same Lori channel.